Dobro večer, ja sam Andi Mijočov i gledate novo izdanje emisije Preko granice. Centralna tema je ruska invazija na Ukrajinu, ali ovog puta ćemo zaviriti iza željezne zavjese koja se ponovo stvara na evropskom kontinentu. Ruski predsjednik pozvao je na čišćenje od izdajnika u Rusiji. Medijski mrak i propagandu nakratko je prekinula jedna hrabra žena, a zbog antiratnih protesta uhapšeno je više od 15.000 Rusa. Večeras na ume Vladimira Putina, bivšeg agenta KGB-a, analiziramo sa još jednim bivšim agentom KGB-a. Rat u Ukrajini i dalje bjesni, a spominje se i uključenje Kine u sukob, pa krenimo redom. Vladimir Vladimirović Putin, agent KGB-a, džudista, premijer i predsjednik, vladar Rusije, izdao je prijetnju ruskom narodu. Uznemirenim tonom u televizijskom obraćanju pozvao je na čišćenje od izdajnika unutar Rusije koji propituju njegovu invaziju na Ukrajinu. Zapad je optužio da pokušava isprovocirati građanski sukob u Ruskoj federaciji.
Но любой народ, а тем более российский народ, всегда сможет отличить истинных патриотов от подонков и предателей и просто выплюнет их, как случайно залетевшую в рот мушку, выплюнет на панель. Убежден, такое естественное и необходимое самоочищение общества только укрепит нашу страну.
Oni koje Putin naziva izdajnicima su oligarsi i njihove porodice koji udobno žive u zemljama Zapada. Te udobnosti nakon početka ruske agresije na Ukrajinu za građane Rusije je sve manje. Odlazak stranih svjetskih brendova, nemogućnost putovanja, ali i gubljenje poslova samo su neke od posljedica oštrih sankcija Zapada. Da bismo razumjeli oštrinu Putinovih riječi, potrebno je sjetiti se da je on u početku svoje karijere bio obavještajac, agent KGB-a. Ko bi to bolje pojasnio nego drugi bivši agent KGB-a? Sa nama je Jack Barski, nekadašnji agent spavač KGB-a koji je proveo deceniju špionirajući u Sjedinjenim državama, nakon čega je promijenio stranu. Autor je i knjige Deep Undercover. Dobro večer, Jack. Kao bivši agent KGB-a, kako vi gledate na odluke Vladimira Putina i njegov način razmišljanja od početka invazije do sada? Koliko su njegove odluke, prema vašem mišljenju, vezane za njegovo iskustvo u KGB-u?
All right, I get this question a lot. I don't think it has much to do with his roots in the KGB, simply because he was not a big wheel in the KGB. He was a mid-level bureaucrat serving in the city of Dresden in Germany, and there wasn't a whole lot of action during the Cold War in Dresden, Germany. I was recruited by somebody who was stationed in a similar city, and those folks, what they did, they maintained the relationship with the Stasi, and they may have, tried to recruit people and so forth, but there wasn't a whole lot of action, and here's the proof of my speculation, so to speak. I met a fellow named Oleg Kalugin in person. He is now in the United States. He was at one point the counterintelligence chief of the first directorate of the KGB, and Oleg was at one point Mr. Putin's boss. And in private, he would make a statement, would say that he was not very impressive as an agent. So you got to separate the KGB background from the meteoric rise that Mr. Putin had. Maybe not entirely, because as a KGB man, he made a lot of contacts, and as you may know, that when the Soviet Union fell apart, a lot of ex-KGB went out on their own and made a lot of money. Some of them became oligarchs, and some of them went into government simply because they were the intellectual elite of the Soviet Union, and they knew how a somewhat free society operates. So when he left the KGB, I think it was in 1992, when Mr. Putin began a career as a politician. He attached himself to the mayor of St. Petersburg, and before you knew it, he was in Moscow and impressed Boris Yeltsin, and Boris Yeltsin installed him as his successor. And that is when Vladimir Putin actually showed his true talent. He was and is a masterful politician. He ruled Russia for 20 plus years, pretty much unchallenged, which is incredible, particularly given the fact that the standard of living for the Russian people has not improved during his reign. And he has had always above 50% approval rating. He's a master politician, and he is an excellent chess player. I mean, in one-on-one meetings with Western heads of state, I think Vladimir always wins. So that's that's a long answer to this question. I don't have anything else to say. You know, and just one thing I want to point out: the fact that I point out that he's a masterful politician that's not praise. It's just an assessment of somebody we have to deal with, and who is one of our main adversaries.
Vjerujete li da bi Putin mogao eskalirati rat još dalje, pogotovo sada kada nije uspio ostvariti brzu pobjedu u Ukrajini?
I am not, unlike a lot of politicians and journalists, I'm not in the business of making predictions because it's kind of silly. But what I do see, he has two choices eventually. He can somehow find an off-ramp and negotiate something with the Ukrainian government that gives him a victory, where he can walk away claiming victory, or he can attempt to occupy Ukraine. If he thinks he can occupy Ukraine, he will lose, simply because, as you found out, the Ukrainians are fighting like hell. And I know enough Ukrainians, I've met enough Ukrainians to understand that they actually totally hate Russia. And this would result in a repeat of Afghanistan, which, you know, nobody could win in Afghanistan, not the Soviet Union, not the United States. You cannot win a war in the long run if you have to deal with the entire population. Another example is Vietnam. You know, the United States was vastly superior militarily, but eventually had to withdraw and concede defeat. So it depends upon how rational the man is and how much he actually believes in what his intelligence agencies, I'm pretty sure, telling him is what I just said. Long-term occupation of Ukraine will be devastating to Russia and Mr. Putin himself.
Da li bi prema vašem mišljenju neuspjeh u Ukrajini doveo do unutrašnje borbe za prevlast u Kremlju?
That is possible. I don't think there's going to be a power. There is nobody equal to Vladimir Putin right now. So this kind of a power struggle between a number of equals, that's not going to happen. The only power struggle that might happen if the power players below Mr. Putin, we're talking about, you know, the generals and the heads of the three intelligence agencies, if they all decide that it is in the best interest of themselves and Russia to declare Vladimir Putin to be, let's say, not well, then at that point, if he is deposed, and I'm not talking assassination, I don't want to speculate, but he could be deposed because he by himself doesn't have all the power. But at that point, I could see a power struggle because there is no clear successor for Vladimir Putin. He has managed to not have a second in command, and I think that may well be on purpose, so as to avoid that this person will take over and push him aside.
Hvala vam za vaše viđenje i što ste govorili za Preko granice.
You're most welcome. Thank you.
U Rusiji su trenutno blokirani Facebook, Twitter i Instagram. Blokiran je i pristup stranicama 90 medija iz zemlje i inozemstva, dok je 18 medija, što dopisništava svjetskih agencija, što domaćih medija, prestalo s radom. Početkom marta krivični zakon Ruske federacije je proširen za odredbu koja predviđa zatvorsku kaznu do 15 godina za, kako se navodi, širenje lažnih informacija o ruskim oružanim snagama, što u praksi znači da mediji o ratu mogu govoriti samo kao o specijalnoj vojnoj operaciji uz podatke dobijane iz ruskih zvaničnih izvora. Medijski mrak u Rusiji nakratko je prekinut prije 4 dana i to na glavnoj državnoj televiziji, Prvom kanalu. Urednica Marina Ovsjanikova je upala u eter dnevnika sa porukama "Zaustavite rat, ne vjerujte propagandi i ovdje vam lažu".
О том, как смягчить воздействие западных санкций, говорил сегодня Михаил Мишустин. На встрече со своим белорусским коллегой российский премьер подчеркнул, надо усилить сотрудничество в рамках союзного государства, а на совещании в правительстве обсуждали...
Ovsjanikova je ubrzo izvedena pred sud i za sada joj je izrečena samo novčana kazna. Strah ruskih vlasti od javnog iskazivanja protivljenja ratu rezultirao je hiljadama uhapšenih antiratnih demonstranata u gradovima širom zemlje. Sama spomen riječi ratu u javnom prostoru, pa čak i puko stajanje na trgu, izazivaju hitru reakciju snaga sigurnosti, a to najjasnije pokazuje naredni snimak. Obratite pažnju na ženu koja se protivi ratu u Ukrajini, ali i na onu koja rat podržava.
За активистов вообще.
За активистов?
За активистов, конечно.
Я просто хотела спросить, как вы думаете, если здесь просто сказать 2 слова, меня за это сейчас арестуют или нет?
Вас уже задерживают. С ума сойти. С ума сойти. Вы это видели, нет?
Вы снимаете только оппозиционеров, да?
Всех снимаем, всех снимаем.
Снимаете. Ну а вот у кого есть другое мнение, вы тоже их снимаете?
Конечно, всех снимаем.
Ну а тех, кто, например, не выходит на митинги и кто считает, что военная операция, которую развернула наша страна, вы их снимаете?
Да, мы все мнения показываем.
Ну вот я тоже хочу высказать тогда свое мнение.
Скажите.
Меня устраивает то, что...
Это шок-контент. Человек пришел сказать, что ее устраивает.
O tome koliko se Rusi boje i da li je taj strah nadjačao njihova mišljenja o invaziji na Ukrajinu razgovaramo sa Marijom Kuznecovom, pressekretarom OVD Infa, organizacije koja prikuplja podatke o uhapšenim aktivistima i pruža pravnu podršku žrtvama političkog progona. Dobroveče, Marija. Koliko je Rusa uhapšeno do sada prema podacima OVD Infa zbog protesta protiv rata u Ukrajini i vidite li trend da broj demonstranata raste?
So by far, during 2.5 weeks, more than 15,000 Russians have been arrested for anti-war protesting. And yesterday, on Sunday, more than 800 were arrested. So I wouldn't say that we see an increasing trend. Most people were detained a week ago. It was more than 5,500 people arrested in one day. But now we see that just police arrest basically everyone who is protesting. So it's like 100% chance of being arrested if you go and protest. So people just start to feel more and more afraid of going out.
Sa kakvim kaznama se suočavaju uhapšeni demonstranti prema zakonu Ruske federacije?
So if you protest for the first time, it's most probable that you will just have a fine. But if you have just one administrative case and now it's your second or third time, you can be arrested up to 30 days. But there is also a probability that police will put some criminal charges on you. I mean, it will be really stupid. For example, they put some criminal charges on extremism just for protesting because Alexei Navalny called people to protest and he is considered an extremist in Russia. So just for cooperating with Navalny, you can be in prison up to 6 years. And also you can touch a policeman, and Russian court says that you beaten him. So you can also get into prison for many years. So basically everyone who goes out understands that there is a probability that they won't return to their homes in years.
Kakva je trenutna situacija u zemlji sa zakonskim propisima? Postoji li način da se dobije dozvola za izlazak na protest ili je riskiranje zatvorske kazne jedini način da se pojavite na skupu?
Russia is a dictatorship. So basically there are laws that you can legally protest, but they always, they just make up some excuse saying you cannot protest. And for them, COVID is such an excuse for more than 2 years now. So they always say that you cannot protest because you will spread the disease among people. So no, now it's not possible to legally protest in Russia.
Kakvo biste rekli da je javno mišljenje u Rusiji među građanima o ratu i upadu u Ukrajinu? Podržavaju li ljudi Putinove odluke?
I would say the society is really divided because people who are older than 40s, they mostly watch TV. So they see just what Russian propaganda shows them. So they either support or they don't have a position because they just don't have access to real information because of the censorship. But people who are in their 20s or in the 30s, they understand the situation much better because they have access to the internet, and they use internet as a main source of information, and they for sure see much more real picture. But still, Russian internet is really censored. So all independent media websites are blocked in Russia. Some of the social medias in Russian-dominated segments are blocked, and Russia actually yesterday started to block Instagram, and Facebook and Twitter are blocked in Russia. So basically, you cannot access, independent information in a lot of situations. So people who see the real pictures, they are against the war. But mostly they are just really afraid of going out and supporting openly, because actually even saying war or being anti-war is criminalized in Russia, because they say that it's not a war, it's special military operation. And people have been fined for saying just the word war on the Facebook post or on the banners on protests. So what we witness now is military censorship, both in TV and internet. So for Russians, it's really difficult to access real information. So that's why you can see a picture that a lot of people support the war, but in reality, it's much more complicated to explain.
Vjerujete li da sve ove sankcije Rusiji, odlazak svjetskih brendova, zabrane društvenih mreža mogu natjerati ljude da se malo zapitaju, da se pobune, sruše režim?
Yes, what now we see is protests of people who do not support war on a moral basis, basically. So they're just they're against violence, they have friends in Ukraine, they understand the situation, they understand that you shouldn't kill people, it's awful, it's a dictatorship. But probably in a few weeks or in a month, we will see another kinds of people starting to protest. It's just really people who are hungry, because a lot of people have lost their jobs. And actually it wasn't the poorest people, because international companies left Russia. So it's people who are used to living a kind of good lifestyle who lost their job. And now we see that some goods completely disappeared from Russian supermarkets. Especially the big problem is with medicine, medical supplements, because mostly all of it have been exported from Europe and the United States. So I would say that yes, we will see a big move of people who are now just really hungry and have nothing to eat and have no money to survive, but it will take a few weeks from now.
Hvala vam što ste govorili za Preko granice.
Thank you.
Pregovori Moskve i Kijeva o prekidu vatre i dalje traju. Ukrajinski šef diplomatije Dmitro Kuleba je izjavio da pregovara s Turskom o mogućoj organizaciji sastanka između Volodimira Zelenskog i Vladimira Putina. Obje strane su demantirale tačnost navodnog plana sa 15 tačaka o prekidu vatre koji su objavile svjetske novinske agencije. Za to vrijeme pred ruskom agresijom iz Ukrajine je izbjeglo više od 3 miliona ljudi. Američki predsjednik Joe Biden Vladimira Putina je nazvao ratnim zločincem, a Moskva je uvela sankcije Bidenu i drugim najvišim američkim zvaničnicima. Ovu sedmicu obilježile su i riječi ukrajinskog predsjednika Zelenskog da je svjestan da Ukrajina neće postati članica NATO saveza, kao i njegova obraćanja američkom kongresu, kanadskom parlamentu te njemačkom Bundestagu. Prilikom obraćanja kongresu prikazao je i video Ukrajine, nekada i sada. Zelenski je od zastupnika u Bundestagu zatražio pomoć u rušenju novog zida u Europi koji diže Rusija.
Так, не берлінською, але посеред Європи, між свободою і неволею. І стіна ця міцніше з кожною бомбою, яка падає на нашу землю, на Україну. З кожним рішенням, яке не приймається заради миру.
Washington je početkom ove sedmice objavio obavještajne podatke prema kojima je Kina spremna pružiti vojnu i finansijsku pomoć Rusiji. Peking je demantirao te navode i najavio slanje humanitarne pomoći Ukrajini. O tome šta je trenutno potrebno Ukrajini od njenih saveznica, da li Peking planira pomoći Moskvi i može li izolacija Rusije od ostatka svijeta dovesti do promjena, razgovaramo s Dmitrom Naumčukom, advokatom i članom platforme javne diplomatije u Ukrajini. Dobro večer, Dmitro. Koja pomoć je sada potrebna Ukrajini od SAD-a i zemalja Evropske unije?
Good evening. First of all, I would like to say that Ukrainians highly appreciate all kinds of help we are receiving from all our partners. It is really crucial for us to have support in this war of aggression launched by Russia against Ukraine. But of course, there are some further actions which we are asking from our partners. I would like to point out the most significant 5 actions. First of all, we are asking to close our sky. Russia has significant air advantage, which it actively uses by attacking our military positions and civilian infrastructure, killing thousands of civilians and bombing Ukrainian airports. So we urgently need no-flight zone or air defense systems or fighter planes. This would significantly accelerate the end of war. The second action is to disconnect all Russian banks from SWIFT. First and foremost, Sberbank, and we also ask to limit any possibility for Russia to use the cryptocurrencies to circumvent financial sanctions. The third action is to expand the same sanctions imposed against the Russian Federation, to expand them to Lukashenko's regime in Belarus. Also, we are asking trade embargo on Russia, including oil and gas sector, as well as sales of gold and minerals. The fifth action is to close the ports for Russian vessels following Canada, United Kingdom, and Cyprus, and ban for the ships under the EU member states and US flags to come to the Russian seaports.
Kako ocijenite stav Pekinga o ratu i navodne američke obavještajne podatke da Rusija od Kineza traže vojnu podršku?
First of all, it should be mentioned that China many times declared that they support sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine. And our authorities and Chinese representatives maintain constant working contacts. For example, yesterday, our head of regional military administration stated in his official Telegram channel that he met with the ambassador extraordinary and plenipotentiary of China. And the ambassador reaffirmed that they respect the way chosen by Ukrainians, and they are preparing the third shipment of humanitarian aid. Also, our government constantly communicates with the officials of our partners and allies and discuss the matter of military support to Russia as well. As far as I know, our partners placed pressure upon China and warned that any support to Russia may cause implementation of sanctions against China. And frankly speaking, I think that China will avoid any such risks.
Smatrate li da bi izolacija Rusije i njenih građana mogla voditi do nivoa nezadovoljstva nalik onom iz Sovjetskog saveza, što bi moglo dovesti do svrgavanja Putinovog režima?
It's a good question, and I think that no one can say for sure that, namely, these actions will lead to toppling the Putin's regime. But Russian citizens are used to the benefits of the Western civilization, like good cars, good cell phones, and traveling abroad, and so on. So I think that now they will lack such opportunities, and this will cause real dissatisfactions with strikes and demonstrations. Maybe it will not cause the fall of Putin's regime now, but it will cause social and economic strains. And such tensions may be a ground for ending of aggression of Russia against Ukraine and end of the war, as the sanctions and isolations won't be eliminated before all the Russian troops are withdrawn from the territory of Ukraine. And in the future, it can be one of the preconditions for the collapse of Putin's regime. But I'm not sure that it is possible right now.
Hvala vam što ste govorili za Preko granice.
Thank you.
To je sve o centralnoj temi, vrijeme je za neke drugačije novosti. Eiffelov toranj u Parizu porastao je za 6 metara nakon što je tim inženjera uz pomoć helikoptera na vrh tornja postavio novu radioantenu. Najviša zgrada u Parizu, od milja zvana Željezna dama, sada je visoka 330 metara. Porodica Zap iz Argentine završila je fantastično putovanje dugo 22 godine. U automobilu starom gotovo 100 godina prešli su više od 360.000 kilometara na 5 kontinenata. Tokom putovanja dobili su 4 djece. Njihova avantura počela je putovanjem na Aljasku gdje su i našli automobil, a 102 zemlje kasnije vratili su se kući. Bijeg jedne krave sa farme u Kaliforniji izazvao je veliki zastoj u saobraćaju na autoputu sjeverozapadno od Pasadene. Uslijedila je prava potjera koju je lokalna televizija prenosila uživo. Policija je uspjela kravu otpratiti do obližnje farme gdje su je radnici uspjeli uhvatiti. To je sve za večerašnje izdanje Preko granice. Hvala vam za pažnju i doviđenja.